My name is Elliot Hassoun, and in this video I'm going to run you through my strategy of how I'm planning to get 1 million downloads this year. I launched my podcast on November 1st, 2020, and across the course of the past few years I've been building, and I finished the year on around 300,000 downloads. The podcast has been absolutely flying this year. We're currently sitting around 360 to 370,000 downloads. It's a super audacious goal, but that's the point of it. It's not necessarily to get those million downloads, but it's to be the type of podcast that can get a million downloads. What took me from 0 to 300,000 is not going to be what takes me from 300,000 to a million. Or maybe it would, but it would just happen at a much slower pace. So in this video, I'm going to run you through my strategy and the things that I'm going to do to take this podcast from good to great, and from 70,000 downloads roughly, all the way to a million. The first thing I'm going to be very conscious about is short form content. And the thing I'm looking for here is a blend of frequency and high quality. Last year on YouTube Shorts, I released a bunch, but I wasn't super particular about which type of videos I was releasing. If there was a nice one-liner or soundbite, I would clip it and put it up. Sometimes it went well, sometimes it fell flat on its face. And this year, I want a blend of both. There are now a lot of AI tools that can go through your podcast and clip what they think is the best, and I think a little bit of that is okay, but I don't think you should rely on that entirely. AI is on its way, but there's no way that it knows better than you what went down super well in that episode that you can clip and share with your audience. So I'm certainly going to use the power of AI to help me out, but I'm also going to make sure that I personally go through my episodes and choose what I believe are the best clips. This way, I know that I'm going to be able to get the frequency and the quality I want. Let's say I go for 4 clips per week, for example. I can get 2 generated by AI, and I can get 2 that I've chosen. And who knows, sometimes AI might do a better job than I do. But I really think this might be a good key to success. If you spend a lot of time looking for clips, you probably spend too much time looking for clips. However, if you rely too much on AI, you're probably not going to create anything that's going to go viral or is going to be super high quality. So a combination of the two is what I'm going to do this year to make sure I spread my podcast far and wide. The second thing I'm going to do this year to reach 1 million downloads is to reach out to higher profile guests and bring back on popular guests for round 2. I'm going to go through a video on how to bring on high profile guests onto your show, but the beautiful thing is as your podcast grows, it gets much easier. When you can say, I've got this many hundreds of thousands of downloads, I've been ranked in this many countries. The reality is that the guests will see it as a much better exchange of their time. If someone has 100,000 followers on Instagram, for example, and you're inviting them onto your show and you're going to get 50 downloads, then they're doing you a favor more than you're doing them a favor. And that's okay, because that's where we all start, and you might reach out and be surprised by someone who says yes. But fortunately, after a lot of work, I now have the authority behind the podcast, and when people see the stats and they see the data, they see it as a much better exchange of their time. So this year, I'm going to reach out to more high-profile guests, still guests that I'm genuinely interested in interviewing, in order to have that larger reach of their audience as well. I'm also going to go through my data and find the 5 to 10 guests that did the most successful when it comes to downloads on my show. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach back out to them and see if they want to come on for round 2. And I have no doubt that the majority that I re-invite will absolutely say yes. This is a good bonus tip. Maintain the relationship that you have with your connections and the people that you interview. And it's going to be mutually beneficial because they've grown and I've also grown. And another reason why this is going to be amazing is I know my audience already liked this person and then they enjoyed that episode. And for new members of the audience who maybe haven't scrolled back that far, they might listen to round 2, really enjoy it, and then go seek out the first episode. Another thing I'm going to look towards is upgrading the quality. I've already upgraded the quality of my microphone this year. I also intend to do deeper research when it comes to the guests to improve the quality of the questions I'm asking. And if anything else comes to my mind in which I think I can upgrade the quality and add that extra 1%, that extra 2%, that's exactly what I'm going to do. And some of this might require a financial investment, but from going from good to great, I believe that this might be needed. Something that just came to my mind right now is that I could even consider ads to push my podcast even more. I'm still doubting that I'm probably going to do that because I really think a lot can happen organically, and that's literally been the thing that's taken me here so far. But that could be a consideration later in the year if I'm not quite getting the traction or momentum that I want to. That could always be an option, and the point is that I'm not going to be afraid of investing if I need to, and if I think it will have a really positive knock-on effect. The next thing I'm thinking about is my frequency. Right now, it's at a minimum of 2 per week. I put 1 solo episode up and I put a guest episode up. Sometimes if I interview a fair few guests and I want to get them out sooner, then I'll do 3 times a week and do 2 guests and a solo. I personally think that that is a really good frequency at this moment in time. 2 to 3. It gives my audience enough time to listen to the episodes without getting overwhelmed that there's too many. However, saying that, I did mention the past couple of videos that I've done daily in the past, and it has been beneficial. I don't necessarily think it's the year for that. I think the higher profile guests, the round 2, and all the other things that I'm doing are going to help here. But I do think it was important for me to reflect on the frequency and recognize that this is probably a good amount to stick with. And the final thing that's on my mind at this moment in time, I will update this later in the year if I come up with more ideas, is my reviews. I think this is something as podcasters we think about when we first get started. We're like, okay, let's get our first few reviews going, and then somewhere along the way we kind of stop seeing the importance of them. I know that I've certainly been there, and then one will come along and I go, that's very nice, that's very exciting, but I don't really push for them. I don't really ask people too much. I have it on my outro of my podcast, but not really making a conscious effort to increase them. And given the size of my audience, the reviews are pretty low. And I know personally when I discover a new podcast, I will have a quick skim through the reviews. And if I see a 4.8 or 4.9 or anything in the high 4s with 100 to 1,000 reviews, that tells me that the podcast is pretty good. And that increases my likelihood of listening. And I am certain I am not the only one here. We do this with coffee shops, we do this with movies, we do this with restaurants as well. So if someone happens to stumble across my podcast and they do that same thing, I don't want them to see the sub 100 reviews that I've got right now. I want to build them up to a point where it shows the authority of the podcast, it shows the value that they're going to get from listening. So this year, I am going to make a conscious effort to make that happen. My goal that has no real structure, but just off the top of my head, is that I would like to double the amount. I feel like it's around 60 at this moment in time. So if it's within the 120s to 150s, I think that'd be a pretty impressive job done. So to increase that a fair amount, it's going to be a good goal for me to have, and I do think it will make a difference. So those are the things I'm going to be doing this year to take my podcast to 1 million downloads. Do you think I'll make it? Let me know in the comment section below. I'll be taking you along with a journey. I'll be giving you frequent updates of where I'm at, but I also want to show you that I'm on this journey too. I have been doing it for 3 years now, granted. I'm still in the stage of growing. I'm not at Joe Rogan, Chris Williamson, Stephen Bartlett level or anything like that. And if I come up with some new ideas, I'm probably going to do a part 2 of this, maybe like 5 or 6 months into the year, so that you can implement these things as well. And that's the purpose of sharing, to show you the journey so you can resonate and you can relate to what I'm doing, but also give you things that you can try out on your personal journey in your podcast too. So if you like this video and if you think I'm gonna make it, please give it a like. Drop me a comment of support down below as well. It's not an easy feat whatsoever, so if you can give me as much encouragement as possible, I'd really appreciate it. And if you can review the podcast as well, that'd be amazing too, because that will help me on my way to increase the miserable 20 per year that I've had so far. So that's everything from me today, team. Thank you so much for watching. I look forward to speaking with you all in the next one.